So this pan is nice and hot now, and what we can do is a little test. There's enough flour in it. So I'm just gonna do a little size like that, about a little bit bigger than a toonie or a dollar coin. So while we're testing this, we're going to move to the next step, which is getting the mascarpone cream all together. The mascarpone cream, we're going to add a little bit of lemon juice, mascarpone cream, fresh dill, and capers. So we're going to mix all of these ingredients that I just mentioned, the mascarpone cream, capers, and dill, and we're going to fire them into a food processor and just zap them out of there really quickly. So there we go. And this is looking pretty good. So this latke is looking pretty good. Time to flip it. Oh yeah, see how the butter's crisped it up nice and brown. So I'm just going to add a few more because we can have these all done while we're moving to the next step. Ouch! Watch your fingers. And I'm going to do 6 of them. That's 3 each. That's lots for an appetizer. And these are a little on the bigger side. I must be hungry if I'm making things bigger. Okay, so let's move this, get it out of the way. And we'll add the mascarpone cream while these are cooking. Probably going to be lots. And food processors are awesome. So there's our mascarpone cream mixture. We've got a nice green color to it. It's going to be really flavorful because it's got capers, which give it that little pickly edge, and the dill, which really complements the salmon. So here I've got a piping bag, and the reason that I like to use a piping bag is, well, you'll see, but it comes out in a very uniform, lovely kind of rosebud sort of shape. And it's all about presentation, really, when you get right down to it, especially with things like canopies. So we'll move this off to the side, check on our latkes. Flip the latkes, which are perfect. Time to flip them. So the latkes are a couple minutes away. We're going to just take a moment and get everything cleaned up and organized and move on to the next step, which is assembling them. Okay, so it's assembly time. A couple last minute details. What we're going to do is just take a lemon and get a few grates from it, or zest it, and that is going to be for the garnish on it. These are a little finicky, a little bit labor intensive, but they're so worth it. So here we go. And my idea is, rather than sitting at the table with these, I think when my guest arrives, we're just going to have these in the other room with a glass of wine and sit down and catch up. So, here we go. Now, what you want to do with this is just squeeze a dollop on. Just like that. Oop, it's not cooperating. There we go. And next we have our smoked salmon. And what I'm going to do is just roll it into little rosettes. These are perfect for dinner parties or appetizers. They're little bite-sized morsels of loveliness. And they look really pretty, like you will be sure to wow your guests with this. a little zest of lime, and the other thing that I should mention too is that you want the latkes to be a little bit cool so that when you put the mascarpone cream on, it doesn't melt it. And again, these are ready and they can go into the fridge and you can pull them out when your guests arrive. And I'm just going to top them off with a little dill. So perfect. And when I come to serving, I'm just going to put a bunch of this and there we go. So refrigerate and we'll serve later. Okay, so we're ready to do the main course and we're moving on to that. We've got rack of lamb. We're going to do simple polenta and grilled or oven roasted vegetables. So let's start with the lamb. What you want to do when you choose lamb, go to a reputable butcher, go to someone that you trust with your meat, and you're going to smell the lamb and you don't want it to have an odor. Like sometimes lamb has a pungent smell, and if you run across that, what you're going to do is end up with a really strong gamey taste, and you know that's what people don't like about lamb sometimes, is it's just a little too much. So we've got the lamb, this is the fat cap, and what you're going to do is just run your hands down and remove as much of the fat cap with your hands, pulling it apart. Okay, so I've got a boning knife. I'm just going to run this along the bones. You want to get as close to the bones as possible. And there's something kind of satisfying in butchering your own meat, really, like, you know, knowing that this has come fresh from you, and this you can save and you can use that for a stock, or you can freeze it and use it later. The fat we can just throw right away. So I wanted to show you this. This right here, this sinewy part, that is the silver skin. And you want to make sure you remove that entirely. If you don't remove it, what's going to happen is you're going to have really chewy, not pleasant eating experience. So this is what makes it tough. When that silver skin is on, you're not going to be able to sear the lamb properly. So you just go like that. There we go. And get right down there. And just take off a thin little layer. This is rack of lamb after all, so you don't want to take too much meat away. And you just make a really clean cut all the way up. Slide it down one side, twist your knife around, and slide it up the other. Simple, just like that. And you're gonna get, well, this has 2, 4, 6. This has 8 bones in it, if I'm counting right. 1, 2, 3. So you're gonna get 4 pieces each of delicious lamb. I can't wait, I love lamb. Alrighty, and there we go, done. So we'll get back to this in a second. Get rid of all this.